Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, From the Front Lines, How Real Companies Use Remote Support. My name is Rachel, and I'll be your moderator. I just have a few housekeeping items to cover before we kick off the conversation. First up, you'll notice the GoToWebinar control panel will appear on the right side of your main screen. You're muted by default to help minimize background noise, but this certainly does not mean that we don't want to hear from you. Your insight is an important piece of this webinar, so please send in your comments using the question box throughout the webinar. If you have a question, please submit those in the questions section of your control panel. We'll be monitoring those throughout the webinar, and we'll take time for Q&A at the end. This webinar will be recorded, and if you think someone else on your team would benefit from today's topic or need to hop off the call early, no worries, you will receive a link to today's recording after the webinar ends. And we also ask that you can please complete the exit survey that will pop up upon the webinar's end. So without further ado, I will hand it over to our first speaker, Chris Savio, for a quick introduction before diving into our topic for today. Take it away, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel, and welcome everyone. Excited to be with you today to speak about, from the front line, some great customer stories and so forth. So before we do, I want to intro myself, and I'll bring on my colleague, Zach, as well, doing a quick intro. So I said my name is Chris Savio. I am the Director of Product Marketing here at GoTo, and I've been supporting our engagement and support, technical support tools like Rescue for over 7 years, both from the product side, product marketing, and in general, what I'm most passionate about is actually hearing from our customers, talking from our customers, and facilitating that back to our product organization and other individuals to continue to improve our product, make it better for everyone, and optimize what we're delivering to you. So topics like today, where we're actually talking about customer successes and ways they've used the product that have helped to even continue to shape the product, are something that I love to do and love to kind of tell those stories. So again, excited to share that with you all today. And my colleague that's going to be presenting today is someone even more passionate and has even more close engagement with our customers. Zach, why don't you give a quick introduction to everyone before we jump into the topic of the day?
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you might be. My name is Zach Watts. Excuse me, I'm an Enterprise Customer Success Manager here at GoTo. My main role is working with customers hand in hand on things such as onboarding, implementation, product rollout, product feature and development, things of that nature. So, I really try to act as a customer advocate within the GoTo organization, relaying needs and requests from our customers over to our product and marketing teams, as well as assisting customers in anything they may need product related. So thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, excited to be here. So we'll jump into the topic in a second. And one thing I do want to reiterate as we're going through this that Rachel said, feel free to jump in and start submitting questions throughout it. You don't have to hold them all to the end. We'll kind of catalog them. If there's something super important we want to jump into immediately, we can potentially do that as well. But you don't have to sit on those until we get to the question portion of it. So before we do jump into the kind of broader topic today, I'd like to provide a little bit of background on Rescue for those that aren't familiar with it. Less of a kind of marketing push and more of so the context of what we're coming from. And when Zach is telling a little of these stories, kind of the background on it somewhat. So Rescue, is a technical remote support tool. It's been around for at this point almost 17 plus years, since 2005. It's kind of a leader in the space and kind of pushing on some of the boundaries. Really, kind of anchored on these three areas that you see on the screen right here today. This idea of kind of speed and relentlessly focused on continuing to improve the speed, not just of the product itself, but of how agents and support teams and customers can receive support and provide support, making things really, easy to navigate around, simple clicks through to solve problems and identify problems. Intelligence is another pillar. What we mean by that is being able to both intelligently solve problems, so pulling information from a system that's connected to solve problems in real time, but also intelligence to see what's going on in your organization, how customers are being supported, agreeing to SLAs, different recording metrics, and optimizations that you can use to improve your support organization or care organization that's engaging with customers. And then lastly, simplicity. Again, something that we're very passionate about here. We know that, support teams, there's constant turnover. More individuals are being brought in here or there. And so a simple product that's easy to use, easy to deploy is paramount to onboarding new individuals and getting them into the tool quickly. And at the other end of it, you don't want to have your customers, your end users kind of struggling through getting support. You want to have as little effort for them as possible. And so the simplicity goes on both sides of that coin to make this kind of integrated and easy experience for everyone. And so with Rescue, what you're looking at, is a platform that gives you the ability to support a wide range of devices from mobile and desktop devices. Gives you the ability to have interactive video support, which we'll actually talk about in one of our customer stories today. So you can kind of have a see what I see technology within there. Security, this day and age, I mean, security, you have to say that in every breath of any software you're looking for, any SaaS product that you're engaging in. And we are very passionate about making sure that our tool is one of the most secure remote support products out there, both in how things are encrypted, different login credentials, data sensitivity, residency, and things like that. And then if you start to kind of expand that out, so that's kind of your front end facing your security. What about behind the scenes, right? Everything from having a robust open API platform and some out of the box integrations to allow you to take something like Rescue and build it into your platform, make it yours, connect with your systems that's best possible. And then the administration, right? Reporting. So, what we pride ourselves on is an enterprise grade solution that's as easy to use as kind of a consumer grade product. And with that enterprise grade claim, though, what you need to have is the ability, right, to really tailor the platform, to customize it to your needs, to tailor teams for what's the permissions they can have when they're supporting things, what capabilities do they have access to in Rescue, what can they do on customers' devices, and how can we see how it's being used. So it has all those things that you need to really get granular with it. But if you want something simple and easy, quickly stand up, you can do that as well and not worry about these kind of additional deep dives and functionality. So that's a little bit on the background of Rescue. That's the biggest product push, I guess I'll give to this, but just to kind of lay the foundation. So let's move that into the rear view mirror for now, and we'll actually jump into some of the topics today. But the one thing I'd love to do is when we get into this, I'd love to know the background of some of you that are listening in today. And since remote support is a big topic, love to know from you, tell us a little bit about remote support today for yourselves, right? What do you primarily use for remote support today with this poll that we have up here? So take a second to jump in here and start answering some of these questions that you put in there, right? So is it a purpose-built tool that you're using for remote support? Maybe you're using kind of a meeting tool, something like our GoToConnect or GoToMeeting or other platforms that are out there. Do you use a messaging platform? There's some companies that use their kind of Slacks or Microsoft Teams to go in and remote support. Or maybe you don't have anything yet today, and now you're trying to understand and build that business case for what's some of the value I can get with a remote support product today. So we'll give a couple more seconds here. We got a large number of you that have already voted, so appreciate that. Maybe 2, 3. All right, I think we've got critical mass here, Rachel, so we can push those results back out there. So majority of you, great to see. We got a nice split, nothing in the middle, which is nice to see, and that's good for the meeting tool and messaging platform. There's tons of issues with that as well, but a lot of you have that purpose-built remote support tool. So what I'm hopeful of for some of you that already are using that, this talk today can give you some insights into additional ways you can push the boundaries of those solutions you have, whether that's Rescue or something else. And for those that don't have a solution today, I think this can give you some ideas of how you can build that business case and some of those use cases for that. So, all right, so let's jump into our story time and our tale of our 3 customers, right? So we'll start off with the first one. And we've kind of named this one, how remote can remote support be? I think it's a fun little play on words here. You'll get to that in a second. But really, this is a story of understanding how far can you stretch remote support? Where can some of the limitations actually be, and how can you actually use it to its most robust platform? So we're going to go through story now to tell you of a customer that really has kind of pushed some of our boundaries, both I think in how it's used as well as where it's used. So before we do that, maybe Zach, I can quiet down for a second. You can tell us a little bit just off the top that what's this company that we're first going to dive into? What's their initial background?
Yeah, so Chris, the first customer I'd like to discuss comes from the engineering and manufacturing space, in particular diesel machine manufacturing. They are actually responsible for manufacturing most of, your large high capacity diesel engines that are used today in things such as cargo ships, cruise ships, construction equipment all over the world, things of that nature.
Okay, great. So really kind of that large manufacturing organization really globally spread, which I think is key there. We're going to hone into that. We're really going to push what we mean by globally on this. But what were some of the problems before they kind of deployed remote support that they had with providing support on some of this machinery?
Yeah, Chris. So as you can imagine, machines are built and manufactured, to break down. They push the envelopes of these machines day in and day out. So the biggest issue they were facing is that when one of these machines or engines would actually falter or experience issues, you know, what the main issue they were facing is how fast can we get this resolved? How can we get it resolved? Things of that nature. What they were having to do is they were having to get on-site technicians to these locations. And when I say anywhere in the world, I literally mean anywhere in the world. It could be in the middle of the ocean on a cruise ship. It could be in the middle of a desert, on a dump truck or some sort of road grading equipment, things of that nature. As you can imagine, that's not really practical or cost efficient, and that it would take days, sometimes weeks, to not only get someone on site to that location, but to also diagnose and resolve the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that idea of kind of on an ocean or out in the, a Saudi desert or something really does push the boundaries. And is it the fact then that Zach, so the individuals they had on site aren't necessarily have kind of the technical or coding or computer expertise to solve it? They're more of kind of the machinists and the engineers that work on the larger equipment, but not on the technical side of it.
Yeah, that's correct. So, as you can imagine, much like everything in the world, your common engine or diesel engine has advanced so much over the last 30 or 40 years that, way back when, uh, each, and I'm just going to use a cargo ship as an example. Each cargo ship had a general mechanic on site that went with that ship everywhere, right? Well, back in the day, they could repair these engines and diagnose and repair these engines and get to a quick resolution. But with today's engines, all of them having computer chips on board and being able to run diagnostics, kind of like when you go get your car inspected, they plug into your car nowadays and it'll give them an entire reading of what is going on inside that engine. Well, it's the same way in these large diesel engines as well.
Right. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And to your point, right, that machinist having that there makes sense, but having someone that's kind of this computer technical savvy, not as cost efficient. And if you're out there and working remotely, right, and in remote locations, it's hard to get someone out there pretty quick, regardless of where you're going, taking a helicopter to a cruise ship or another boat out there waiting for it to port, for an example, right? But
Right.
I know this is kind of pushing the boundaries of remote, but I think that the general idea of where someone is being supported is not something uncommon or a challenge that people are facing today, right? If you think about it, we had some IDG work that we had commissioned last year that really, I think, simplifies this idea or shows, where people are supporting from and where individuals are getting supported is more frequently now not in the same location, right? One, you think about it, call centers and customer care technicians are now, it's the norm to not be in a single location, right? It's no more of this like one area where they're supporting from. So they need to be able to access their tool that they're using to support from anywhere, right? It needs to be something that I just don't have to be connected in an office in a VPN or something like that. And similarly, your end users, whether they are in the town over or a continent over, need to get that kind of consistent level of support and have all these tools available, right? It's not necessarily effective to have someone in every single location, every single time zone or whatever to provide that level of support. And so, yeah, we're talking about someone that's out in a desert or a cruise ship, but I think the concept of supporting someone that's somewhere else quickly and not waiting for, let's say, a computer to get returned to a home office, or wait for someone to come into an office or something like that to support it, is really the core of this, right? So interesting problem that they have out there. So we see the setup there. Obviously, rescue came into the picture. Zach, tell us a little bit about how they solved some of their problems with rescue and some of the success that they've been seeing.
For sure. So what this company did is they created what they call their support connect kit. Okay. Again, ships containing, ships that are and large containers that are utilizing these diesel engines. Again, they're going to be equipped with a connect kit on site. Okay. And if it's not on site, the connect kit is something they can get anywhere in the world within 24 hours. Okay, this Connect Kit includes a rescue equipped laptop, so a laptop that already has rescue set up on the machine. Satellite hotspot capabilities, which come more into play when we're talking about, like construction equipment in the middle of the desert or something like that. As we know, most cruise and container ships now have onboard Wi-Fi through satellite capabilities. So, but again, when they're in a desert, for say dealing with construction equipment, they do have satellite hotspot capabilities. They have a smartphone in this Connect Kit, as well as some smart glasses. Okay, what they're able to do is they're able to use the Connect Kit to assist that on-site general mechanic. Again, as you mentioned earlier, someone that does not necessarily have the technical acumen of every single piece and part and function of that machine and that diesel engine, right? This Connect Kit will allow an expert, if you will, at a satellite location, whether that be here in the States or overseas. It would allow them to connect to that rescue equipped laptop, have them plug into the actual machine, and again, picture the expert is actually viewing the laptop on this container ship, which is giving back diagnostic readings, telling them what is wrong with this machine. That's going to allow the expert, if you will, who's at this satellite location and supporting the general mechanic. It'll allow them to assist in diagnosis, resolution. I mean, a lot faster, like within a couple of hours, rather than a couple of days or weeks, if you will.
Yeah, that couple of hours to couple of days is right the key right there, right? That you can't afford to have that downtime. And sure, right, sending people on site is a completely different situation as well. I think it's cool that they're the smart glasses piece of it, right? I think we've seen some fits and stops with some of that too, that they potentially use, with the camera sharing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So to actually take that a step further, also in the Connect Kit, as I mentioned, they do have their own branded smart glasses in this Connect Kit. They were able to develop an integration into the native rescue lens feature that will actually allow the satellite expert to physically see and virtually assist with any repairs. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They are able to. Again, not only do they have the visual of what the technician is seeing, but it will also allow the technician on site to actually work hands free. They won't have to hold their mobile device and say, "Hey, you see this?" while they try to do something with the other hand. They're actually looking at what the technician sees through that smart glass integration with the native rescue lens feature.
I think that's great. The way that they developed that kind of kit that they have on all of them now, and that we get to be kind of a piece of that at the backbone of anchoring to get that, whether it's digital eyes on it or actual eyes on it through the smart lens. That's really a cool and unique way that they're utilizing the tool from just kind of a traditional computer breakfast network piece of it. So love that, and I think to your point, resounding success so far, saving money, saving time. Checking all those boxes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So their main KPI, their main KPI for this use case was time to resolution, bar none. Okay. With that time to resolution also came the saving of cost analysis, right? Because they were not having to send, a rearranged travel for an expert technician to travel to all these places across the world. So yes, you are correct. It has been an overwhelming success for them, not only for them, but for their customer satisfaction as well.
Awesome. And I'm sure those technicians are probably happier too that they don't have to travel all over at at a whim as well. So uh,
Absolutely, yes, sir.
win-win there. Awesome. And so you mentioned in there, this idea of kind of the tech savvy or lack of tech savviness, and that's kind of the next story that we want to jump into and really push that idea, right? So what is the best way to support a non-tech savvy customer? It's something that might be technically complicated, right? And not on a computer. So you just mentioned in that story about kind of live video camera share capabilities. So would love to know if anyone in the session has actually used those before, used something like a FaceTime of sort or a live one-way stream or something, a camera share to actually provide support to your customers. Love to see, if some people are trying to push the boundaries there with some unique ways, and maybe when we tell you a little bit of the story, you'll get some thoughts going in your head, like, maybe there are some opportunities for us to change how we're thinking about this. So we'll give you maybe another 10 seconds here to get it in. Simple yes or no, so it should be kind of quick and easy to kind of get a response in here. Um, so let people kind of find their mouse as they toggle around to try and go in. All right. I think we've got most people, Rachel, so we can push that back out. So actually, more people than I expected have done it before, which I think is awesome. So that is great to see. With 44 to 56%. So for those that are in the yes bucket, maybe this will give you some more thoughts. For those who know, I'm hoping this can maybe push some of your ideas of how you can do it as well. So let's get back into the talking through this. So we said, how are we supporting non-tech savvy? So we got an interesting use case here. Before we jump into the actual use case, Dak, what type of company is this that we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, Chris. So now we're going to be talking about a manufacturer and dealer of smart home technology. Some examples would be like security cameras, full in-home security system, smart home appliances, things of that nature.
Okay. I think something that has continued to skyrocket in popularity has become more accessible, I guess, for consumers. But with accessibility does not mean simplicity. So what were some of the problems that this company was having in supporting customers or different situations?
So the biggest issue this customer was facing in regards to its end users is the lack of visual representation or visual support. Customers would call in for support on maybe some installations or some resets, and 9 out of 10 times the support technician found themselves in the position um, of having to like kind of blindly talk their customer through diagnosis and potential resolution. So, we've all been there trying to talk somebody through something. Are they in the right place? You're trying to have, it's a lot of guesswork in there. So, the end result the end result ended up being, they were still having to send technicians out to these locations. Again, that could take several hours. It could take a day or two. And this resulted in a less than stellar customer experience, as you could imagine, right?
100%. And to the point here, I feel like a lot of times initial problems come with setup. Like I have my smart home setup here and consider myself somewhat more tech savvy than your average consumer. I've run into numerous problems where I'm, stuck online Googling things or trying to call into or stuff like that. And this is your first experience trying to set up a product, right? And so that first impression that you're leaving on someone, maybe it's not broken, right? It's just that the instructions might be hard to follow or the person isn't following, what they're doing. And so I think, to your point there, it's not always as simple as we'd like it. And it's not always as transparent on some of the problems. The sending back and forth of, oh, can you can you email me a picture of this or what are you seeing of that is something all too real for individuals. I actually have. It's funny that well, funny for the situation, not funny for me. I actually was having a problem this past week with a freezer on my fridge, and I'm in this exact same loop right now, 5 days so far, of pictures back and forth to try and solve this problem, and we're still not at a resolution. I wish we could. They could be listening to this right now. I laugh because it's frustrating. Anyway, so that experience, right, with that kind of customer effort of it, the back and forth time delay is one thing. And you noted on something else there, Zach, is, there's no fault found where people are sending something back, right, with when they're left without their devices. The other side of this is sending people on site. You mentioned, kind of on site or truck roll in the last situation. And here again is a perfect example, right, where you have to send someone on site to help set up a smart home, which frankly, in this day and age seems somewhat unacceptable, or to configure it. It should be easier than that. And it's costly, right? So research last year showed that a single truckload can cost, on average around $1,000, right? That's for the overtime for the head, the time for the resource going out there, travel back and forth, because I'm sure some of these are not the easiest to access, depending, this is a regional company, so they don't have people all over the place. And they're not recouping any cost from it, right? Other security setups, you have to pay for your installation and setup, so there's a cost that you're getting, you're getting revenue back. This is a support experience where customers may be under warranty, initial setup, so there isn't anything to recoup. So really unique, kind of a problem. Zach, what did they do? How do they turn this ship around?
Okay, so at this point, enter, if you will, our product Rescue Live Lens. Okay, Live Lens is a completely browser-based solution, requires no download from the end user, and it allows camera streaming from the end user's mobile device directly back to the technician support portal. What this did is it instantly gave the technicians first-person views from the customer location. As you mentioned earlier, this is characterized as a see what I see technology, right? So, Live Lens includes a full annotation suite, which will allow the technician the ability to perform actions like, freezing the screen on what they're seeing and adding an arrow and saying, hey, plug it in here, or things of that nature. What this does is, one, it completely makes it foolproof for the end user, and it removes all doubt for the technician, while adding confidence, in that the resolution is progressing to the end user as well. What this resulted in is so many more one-call resolutions, a huge reduction in truck rolls, which again saved money, saved time, and probably most importantly, for future business and being able to gain future contracts, is the positive customer experience. It's been an overwhelming positive experience for this customer's end users.
I think that last point, so maybe just tease that out a little, right? I think that this is something that you hear when people are trying to deploy some type of video streaming, maybe customer pushback and concerns about privacy or stuff like that. But you're saying, based on what we've seen with them, it's a happy trade-off almost for the customer side of it.
Right. And again, little effort is possible for the customers. They enter a code at a certain location, boom, they're instantly into session. They don't have to go download an app or download anything to their mobile device. So easy use was key in the development of this product. Now, we did mention in the last story, about the diesel machine manufacturer utilizing the native Rescue Lens product. The Rescue Live Lens, which is what we're talking about currently, you can characterize that as more of our new and improved version of the Rescue Lens product. Again, with the no download capabilities, the full annotation suite, screenshot capabilities, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that zero download is key too, because someone that's probably not tech savvy to find the serial number might not know how to download or install an application, right? I mean, but people have become more comfortable with their cameras, so at least they know how to use their phone, right? You have a 75-year-old, 80-year-old, grandparents and parents FaceTiming people using Alexa screen sharing. And sorry, I didn't mean to say that word for anyone that has me on speaker and I just triggered your device. I apologize. Yeah, I think that it's great to see that. I think one thing that, for anyone that's adopting this or wants to think about, right, your time to resolution should condense a lot. call times might go up a little for a single point in time because you're kind of bucketing everything to one call, right? And so now you're seeing what's going on. So that time is going to take a little longer on that initial call. So you'd expect that to probably go up, but the amount of times back and forth with a customer and total time to resolution, you should probably see that decrease because you're getting back there. And to a comment Zach made, right, first call resolution, right? That
Right.
key stat of people coming back. That's where they get frustrated. You got to call back in again. You got to email multiple times. That's where your frustration mounts. Your CSAT scores start to go down. You want to get away from those things, and this is an awesome way to do it. And I think it's cool that the CSAT going up as well as cost savings going down. You don't see technology often that's able to thread both of those. Usually, when you're trying to reduce costs, it's sometimes at a sacrifice for experience, and vice versa. So it's awesome to see a company that's kind of proving out some of the beliefs that we've had with visual support capabilities on that. Anything else you want to add about this company, Zach, or do we want to move on to the third company?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Everything is pretty accurate there.
Awesome. So the last one is, we mentioned there kind of cost, right, which is what a lot of support organizations are, right? They're cost centers. There's some that are starting to staff up their teams to upsell and maybe try and turn them into revenue producing. That is not easy to do. So this next story I want to tell you about is how an actual organization used a tool like Rescue to actually turn that around and become a remote support empire, we could say, and develop some ways to drive revenue and not just be a cost center. So before we jump into the what and the how, same thing, Zach. What kind of a company is this that we're going to be talking about for this third and final example?
So what we got this time, Chris, is we've got one of your world leaders in global electronics. Okay, they're a retail store. They sell electronics, and what they've really wanted to do is try to not only sell the electronics, but offer support for those electronics, and really try to specialize in that tailor-made support experience for both home and business needs.
I think it's a great theory, right? You're selling the products. Can you generate some dollars from an elevated level of support? Maybe if it's not under warranty with the provider, right? You're not the manufacturer itself. How can you start white gloving some things? Sounds great in theory. What were some of the problems that they were having when they first kicked this off, Zach?
Yeah, so again, their goal was not only to sell these electronics, but to also have support capabilities as needed. Once again, really trying to create that one-stop shop, if you will, of on sales and support, right? So, as their business model began, customers only had two options. They could bring their electronics back to the store or schedule an appointment for a tech to come on site. With locations being unknown, this was not necessarily a practical or scalable resolution. Depending on where the customer is located, you're talking about 2 to 4 hours away from the store. Which thus began, the revamping of their support model. Remember, the ultimate goal was to have that tailor-made experience plus add customer satisfaction with this support model.
Yeah, and I think to your point, you mentioned the global electronics retail store. You don't see many of those anymore. They've started to disappear. And so, I mean, kudos to this company to try and drive, revenue in another way, not just by selling it or getting undercut from online providers, but having those physical locations. So, but definitely some hurdles there to overcome. I think the location one again is key, right? You can't. There's a diminishing return to getting people in locations where maybe you're not seeing as much volume, but then you're also alienating some of those potential customers. So, how did Rescue help them turn into this, behemoth revenue center with a remote support tool?
Yeah, so the first issue they tried to tackle was scalability, right? They turned to Rescue to resolve these issues of scalability. They wanted to not only make this scalable internally for them, but also create a frictionless support experience for their customer base, which would ultimately lead to more sales for them. They started small, using Rescue to support technicians on site. So they were still sending technicians out to these locations, and they had a pool of experts that could help these technicians that are on site. as they transitioned, from there they transitioned into, having these support technicians housed in-house at their store locations. So they were having customers, when they were available, to bring these electronics back into the stores. One thing they realized is that, they would need to almost overstaff these locations, not necessarily knowing what was going to come in, what was not. Um, as they were seeing more of these electronics coming in with with an insufficient amount of technicians to handle the volume. So, what they did is they resolved this issue by having these satellite location support technicians, if you will, support the low staff stores as well as the customers. Okay, Rescue played a pivotal role in the development of this support model, which turned out to be wildly successful. Okay, now as the technology got smarter, Rescue did as well. So what that did is that allowed them to kind of revamp their support model again, to evolve with features such as, the embedding of the Rescue SDK into their new mobile application, right? So, once they were able to do that, customers then had the ability to get support directly from the customer's mobile app, right? This was a huge benefit for the end user, especially if they were, not in any kind of approximate location to a store, if you will.
So one question on that, and then one comment. You mentioned SDK. Can you give a little
Mhm.
background? What is an SDK for those that might not be familiar?
Yeah, so an SDK is an integration, into their mobile application, which actually allows the end user to request support from inside that mobile application, right? So if I'm on their mobile app, everybody's got a mobile app nowadays. If I'm on their mobile app looking at certain products and I remember, oh, I've got this product over here that's malfunctioning or whatever, I actually have there's actually an integration in there via the Rescue SDK to request support directly from inside that application.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure it makes the app stickier, better way to get someone to download it, right? I know sometimes to your point, app for everything. Some people don't want to crowd their phone. This is a good way to kind of get that on there and even potentially drive downstream revenue. But yeah, I mean, I think this customer example is really cool and unique, and they've been a long time Rescue customer, and it's been fun to see their evolution. I know you've just been supporting them for a little more recently. I've had the pleasure of getting to see them kind of go on this journey, for the 7 years plus that I've been here, and it is really unique to see this kind of hurdle. To your point, right? Well, let me support the support staff, right? Then we're going to fake it a little bit, and then we can actually, go out. And I think it's done. It's been amazing how they've pushed boundaries. They've pushed us to continue to innovate on our product to help them out. And it's really kind of, scaled with them. And I think that's a key thing to think about here, right? That, take away from this, I think one is, are there ways that you can use a remote support tool to drive additional revenue for your company, maybe from a VIP level, maybe there's foundational support, maybe there's a VIP tier level that you can utilize a remote support tool for, or a visual engagement tool or something like that. But, you know, ensure that whatever technology you're looking at, and there was a large percentage when we did that first poll that already have a remote support tool, if you want to push boundaries with it, I encourage you to make sure that that tool can scale with you, right? Or else you might get to a point where you want to implement something, there's other unique use cases you want to do, you kind of hit this wall and you have to go all the way back to square one, right, with reevaluating vetting. So look at it, can it push the boundaries? Maybe you don't need certain customizations today or extensibility of it today or integrations today, but look 3, 4 years down the road and see how can this tool continue to grow with you. So I think that's awesome. Before we kind of go into questions, any final things, Zach, that you want to close out with any of these stories or successes that we've seen with other organizations you work with today?
Well, yeah, I just want to expand on this particular story for a second. They've actually evolved now to where only under extreme circumstances do they have to send technicians out on location, with their support model now. As you can imagine, their main KPIs for projects such as this was, not only to reduce costs, but to reduce customer effort as well. What was not practical in providing that tailor-made customer support experience was having customers make appointments to wait on a technician or to have the customer, bring that in store. Now they can now the pool of expert technicians, okay, housed at these locations can actually connect to these end users. Again, going back to our first story, anywhere in the world, right? The main driver here was customer satisfaction, right? This model allows them to not only drive that customer satisfaction, but also drive forward renewals of service plans, right? You talked about, generating additional revenue streams from the use of rescue, and this is certainly one great example of that.
I love that. I'm glad that you brought back to that. That is, kind of key with the experience and how they kind of anchored on that and were able to catapult off of it into some of these other tailor-made experiences. So thanks for bringing us back to that, Zach.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
before we open up for if there's any questions that came through, one last kind of poll that we just want to know. Obviously, if there's any interest that you want to learn a little bit more about rescue, if any of the use cases or examples we gave today to kind of pique your interest, happy to have someone reach out to you, walk it through, address any questions, provide you a demo, whatever you need. So please just let us know. Tick in here. We'll give you 10 seconds to tick in yes or no. Promise we won't start inundating you with anything. Just make sure that someone reaches out to you if you are interested. And give maybe 5 more seconds here. Looks like the majority of people have ticked in. Awesome. I think we close that out. And yeah, let's go to some questions. Rachel, do we have any questions kind of come through as we were running through today?
Yes, we did have a couple of questions, and just a reminder for our attendees, if you have a question, please submit those in the questions section of your control panel. So our first question is, what has been the feedback from support teams for the camera sharing?
That's actually a great question. I know we mentioned kind of the end user experience and satisfaction. So for customers that have used like that smart home companies act, what about the agents? How's their feedback been?
Well, as you can imagine, it's been overwhelmingly positive, because for a time there, these technicians kind of felt helpless, like they couldn't guarantee or see what was going on the customer location. Now they can. So again, as I mentioned earlier, it basically removed all doubt for them that yes, we're in the right location. We are resolving the appropriate issue. And again, the most overwhelmingly positive comment is, hey, we got the customer taken care of right then. We didn't need to send a technician out. We didn't need to call them back. They didn't need to call us back, so on and so forth. So again, that first call resolution was huge for that particular customer.
That's awesome to hear that. Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a little bit of behavioral change and some of that muscle memory you got to shift from. But to your point, once it is adopted, it does make it a lot easier. I'm sure they like showing off some fun little technology with these individuals as well. So great. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that. Rachel, I think we might have time for one more before we get to the close of this.
Yes. Okay. So one more question. We sorry, we often use meeting tools for support and screen sharing. So do you have any talking points on why something like Rescue or any remote support tool is better?
Sure. So yeah, so a meeting tool. So you must have missed that poll question earlier when we went through, or you were ashamed to say that you were using a meeting tool. That's okay. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things from it. First and foremost, I'd say there's probably security components of what you're missing and using some type of meeting tools for it. There's not the logs or recordings or detailed session information that occurs with something like Rescue that tracks everything that goes on in a remote control session. So if there are something you need to look back on, you have that logging capability. You also have the encryption capabilities of when sessions are running back and forth that can't be hijacked or data be lost. The second side of it, I think, is experience. The effort and connection and experience from an end user when using a meeting tool is lacking. And one perfect example is, if you need to elevate to UAC or admin controls, you can't do that with a meeting tool, right? And so if you need some type of administrative level, and the user doesn't have admin access on their device to install something or erase something or change something, access something, again, an agent would not be able to get that level. So that's just two examples, I think, of why meeting tools fall a little short. I'm sure I could probably run through millions of other things from the customization in the back end, configuring agents how you want them, giving different access levels, running things behind the scenes so not everything just because it's a nail, everything becomes a hammer, right? You don't have to go in and force remote control everything. So that's what I would say. If you're defaulting to that, there's better ways. I don't know, Zach, if you have anything else to add to that, but that's my 2 cents on meeting tools and remote support.
Yeah, so Chris, the only thing that I would add to that is control. You know, with the rescue product, you are able to take control of that end user's device. Now, you can, we've all been there where we, try to walk a customer, go up to the top right of your screen, click this, click that. Again, I know we've said it 100 times already on this presentation, but time to resolution. It can be so much faster and so much more painless for the customer with the utilization of a product such as Rescue.
Awesome. Well, great. So Rachel, I think we're good with that. So want to thank everyone for joining today. And Zach, thanks for running through some of those stories. Plenty more on our website if you want to see some other customer successes we have. Take a pop over there, take a look, try out the product yourself, or reach out to us and we'd be happy to engage more. And I think Rachel, you said at the top, we'll have a little closing survey that's going to pop up when we sign off. So encourage everyone to take it. So yeah, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Zach, for speaking with us today. And thank you for all of us who joined today's session, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.